Welcome to the Apiary. This is Jake Beeman with Golden Fox Farms. This is Apiary Adventures 4. This is the early spring inspections we were doing in the latter half of February in support of our early spring management video. While I go through these hives, I see a couple things of note and discuss it as I go, so I thought I would share them herein. Enjoy. Now I could do something crazy, which is weigh it before I even get into it, which would be more akin to my brand. At one point, she weighed about 90 pounds. That side's 41 pounds. And the other side is almost 49 pounds. So she's pretty dang close to 90 pounds still, which is kind of the norm I will usually see with my colonies. Let's get into this thing. Just pop the top and see if there's anything noteworthy. And I really don't think we're going to find anything actionable per se. All right, so what do we see? We see most of the bees are over here. Well, this side gets afternoon sun. And with that solar gain, this side's the hotter side of the box. Odds are the brood nest is shifted over this way, and odds are we have food over this way. So let's see if that's the case. I'm going to pull out one of these frames to check for brood and queen right status, and then we'll check one of these. Really, we don't need to check for food. We know the thing weighs 90 pounds. We're really just checking for a queen. And keep in mind, we really don't even have to do this, because I really don't think we'll find anything we can fix. Because if they are queenless, it's more going, oh, I guess this one won't be useful for me for making nukes in a few weeks. But we can pull out this frame here. I like to make more room than that when I pull frames, but it's still a bit chunky in these boxes. They're still a bit cool. Okay. And this is telling me what I thought it would. We have brood on this frame here, and it's kind of skewed towards the bottom half of the frame. And we see the same thing on this side. Here, there's my queen right there. We can see there's this kind of semicircle of brood. That again suggests the lower box has the other half of the semicircle of brood in it. So we don't want to reverse this colony because that would split the brood nest this early in the year. So all there is to do at this point is put this colony back together. So I'm going to see if I can spot where that queen went. She's right there. Just to make sure when I slide this in, I am cognizant not to smoosh where she is. Justify your frames and put her back together. Those are the kind of winter inspections I prefer, where I don't have anything I need to do. Because sometimes, if there's anything that tends to be light, it's these nukes when I'm done feeding. Just because there's not that much to them. And this one has a feed block on the top, if I had to guess. That's probably why there's a medium on top of this nuke. And that's precisely what this is. And because we can see they're using it, and knowing how dry that hive was, I'm going to leave them set up right like they are. No need to dick around in there any more than we have to. Now, this is not a single colony. This is one of the ones that has a double screen isolating the top box from a second colony in the bottom boxes. And the entrance is right here at my chest. So I don't want to stand right here. I'll stand off to the side while working this colony. And I'm probably just going to check the top box and just assume everything's okay in the bottom. Usually when I do one of these, I'm making sure I'm putting it on a colony I don't need to get back into. On the bottom, that is. However, the weak colony that goes on top, all bets are off. Who knows what you will find in one of these? That was weird. All right. So let's see what's under this. And it's kind of what we should expect, and that's a small colony. There's a couple ants coming in, probably from the inner cover itself. There's probably an ant nest underneath the foam the bees can't access. I'm not really worried about that. I am going to try to gauge what all is in here real quick. I'll probably go for a middle-ish frame, a frame that has a lot of bees on it. That'll give me a quick inspection of the condition of any brood, which can also tell you the food condition in a hive, because if they're on the starving side, the brood's going to be dry. Okay, so what do we see? We see a decent kept brood pattern. I'm going to hold it a little closer so I can get a little deeper eyes into it. And actually, there's a little bit of honey store in there still. But a decent little chunk of capped brood for how small the colony was. Going to look in from the sides. Everything looks pretty normal. I am going to pull out an outer frame and see if there's any food on the periphery of the brood nest. Because if there is food, this is probably where it's going to be, which is right next to the brood nest. And I just have my doubts. These small colonies, if the colony's weak enough to throw them on top of a hive like this, usually there's an issue with them. We actually still have syrup in here. So we're not in trouble. I'm not feeling fantastic about it. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to add a fondant patty to these, just to buy them time, more than anything else, just buying time. That's a colony full of bees, though. Okay. Let's go right for the middle and see what we got. Oh! Oh! Now, just because they're at the top doesn't mean they're starving. It just means they're at the top. So we have to pull a frame out to get an actual gauge of what's going on in here. The other option would be just to weigh it. But where's the fun in that? And this actually, in my worldview, is good news. This is all food. It is all food. It is all food, which means this colony isn't anywhere near starving like some of the other ones we've already looked at are at risk of. This is much more what I wanted to find getting into these colonies. Colonies with food on them. Now, I don't see any brood on this, which raises the question, do they have a queen and is she laying? And what we can do is pull out another frame, see if that tells us anything different. But since there's so many bees in this top, oh, there we go. We have brood right there. Cat brood and open brood and young larvae, and there's the queen, matter of factly. She's right in that shadow area right there. So this colony's good to go. I think they have enough food to ignore them for a bit still, looking at this top box. I probably could reverse them, but this colony has that hole in the front between the boxes they love so much. I don't want to take that away until it's warmer, because all those foragers will end up going back to that spot that would no longer exist. Anytime you take a frame out of a hive, try to put it back in the same way it came out, and you can clock it judging from any wax remnants that are in the old box. See how those lined up with themselves there. So let's get these frames rejustified. Now I'm feeling better. I was afraid I was going to go into all these hives and find everybody was in bad shape. Anytime you start out that way, it's not too promising. This is more what I expected to find. So let's get them all button-tized, and we can move on to the next one. This one definitely has more trash going out the front door. This one might be robbed. And I think it is. Okay. I say that. Definitely still has food in it. But they definitely aren't alive anymore, are they? They are frozen in time. So the question is, why? This was a late slapped together colony. They all have short butts. You see how they have small abdomens? That's a tell for having a varroa kill. A lot of people think, oh, that's a moisture kill. After the bees die, they start to leak like we all do, like all animals do when they die. So that really isn't a tell. That really doesn't tell you anything. Besides that they had a small cluster, way too small of a cluster. Small clusters are often varroa kills because when the bees get sick with varroa, they go out the front door until you have not enough bees and they freeze to death. And that's exactly what this is. The short abdomens, the short butts, is associated with chronic paralysis, not chronic paralysis, Varroa destructor virus or PMS, parasitic mite syndrome. And it looks like everything that could go wrong in this hive did. There's even a little drone right there. So they were getting screwy goosey. So, more free equipment. More free equipment. Some of my favorite things, free equipment. Let's just do it. All right, let's check this double. This was a double that I was never too happy with last year. It just never really seemed that strong. It's one of those kind of, we'll see what happens colonies. So I guess it's time to see what happened. I did have this thing at 82 pounds at one point, so that's pretty all right. Something was trying to live in the top. Let's see what we got in here. Definitely has bees in it, and you wouldn't really know that looking from the top, because it seemed, or rather looking from the outside, it seemed kind of quiet. So, since there's a lot of bees on this frame, if there's going to be any frame with brood, it's going to be that one. So let's look at that one and see if that tells us anything. I do run 10 frame boxes. Some people run 9 frames in 10 for the brood nest. It's just something I've never been terribly happy with doing. These are some old frames in this one. Wonder what I got these out of. Excuse me, girls. It is a heavy frame, so it's going to have a lot of food on it. I'm just going to move slow, because again, if I roll a queen now, it's toast. Colony is toast. And there's the queen, so it was a good reason to go slow, for sure. Queen's pretty much in the middle of that frame. Now, this frame has a bunch of food on it. I can also tell you from the brood pattern, you see how there's cat brood in the semicircle towards me? Well, there's open brood around it. That means almost certainly the bottom box also has brood laid in it. So I really don't need to go any deeper in this hive as far as figuring out do I want to reverse it or not. I just need to make sure I don't roll that queen when I put this hive back together. That queen is towards my left hand. I'm going to sneak this back on down. And that frame had plenty of food on it. And I think these ones over here are equally rather food filled. Let's find out. Oh yeah, that's a heavy frame. I don't even need to take that out. That's a heavy frame. There's at least one other heavy frame I can see there, and there's this one as well. This colony's got food. It's got enough food not to worry about it. At least for a little while. Let's button them back up. Now this beastly hive is a triple. And it's probably a triple because I wasn't in a good position to try to force it down to being a single or a double last year. Sometimes they just get away from you. Sometimes you're combining colonies. She's going to be heavy because I can tell you I fed her to 120 just because that's what a triple needs for when her weight's 120. So let's see if that's still about where we are. That side is 45. Oh, Christ, that side's heavier. That side's 56. So that's right at 100 pounds. So they've maybe lost 20 pounds of food so far this year. Doo-doo-doo. Oh boy. And they're definitely up here in the top. Now, I know weight-wise, this thing weighs 90 pounds, okay? Is it 90? No, 45 and 55 is 100 pounds. With 100 pounds and 3 deeps, you're looking at roughly 30 pounds of wax food and bees-ish. That should be plenty. Now what we can do is get in here and find out what we have going on the individual frames. I can tell you, peering in from the sides, I think we got food over here. Let's just confirm that. Oh. Early in the year, sometimes these frames are difficult to get moving. And I don't want to squish anybody because that's how you make inspecting hives unpleasant. Okay, that's pretty empty. There's definitely some syrup in it. Oh, this side's actually got a decent bit of food, so that's kind of what I thought I would see. It's not the most food in the world. I'm going to leave that frame out and go for one of these more over here frames just to get an idea on our brood nest. Oh, come on. Oh, that's some very stiff frames. Let's see what this one tells us. All right. This one has got brood going to the bottom on my side. I imagine the other side is similar. Yes, it is. Brood's going all the way to the bottom of this frame. And the brood pattern's good, but again, if the brood's going all the way to the bottom, odds are the brood nest goes below this box. Now, we do have a triple arrangement here. We can probably, if we're so inclined, remove the bottommost box. However, when it's this time of year, knowing the bees and how this box has different colors on it, because notice this one's white, this one's natural, that one's blue. For me to get these bees into the lower box, if I just move the boxes around, they're going to think the entrance is below the blue box still, and they're going to go there. And that means I'm going to have some bees getting stuck outside when it gets too cold for them this evening. So I don't want to do that just yet. But that is a move I could make later on if I wanted to. That is how this frame went in. Again, I'm clocking the frame that came out to where the wax protrusions are and making sure everybody lines up. That's how I know I've got the frame back in the way it came out. I am glad I put the jacket on. When it's cold like this, they can be a little hungry, a little cranky. So just don't make your life any harder than it has to be. Wear a jacket when you need to wear a jacket. Let's see what this one's doing. This one I'm just going to do the top because this again is one of those screen bottom board numbers where I put a weak colony on top of a strong colony. The colony beneath this should be the way I want it to be. I only do this to strong colonies in terms of the one that's on the bottom. So I'm not even going to worry about getting into that one. But I do want to see what's going on this top one. This was a late tree cutout colony. And it was just having a lot of trouble because, well, It was a late tree cutout colony. And this is kind of what I thought it would look like with kind of a reduced population. This is one of those ones we're going to have to get frames out and actually have a look-see. So I'm going to remove this one. This frame is painted that way because I know there's a crack in the middle of it. And it's a super. Oh, there's a couple super frames in here. That's correct. All right, so we can weasel along in here and see if they have a brood nest or anything. A lot of these frames look like they got robbed out, which might have been going on in the fall. But this one's got food on it. So they at least have stores. So now the question is, do they have a queen? Excuse me, girl. There's some white pollen going in. This side has some brood on it. I imagine that side has some brood on it. Definitely plenty of food in here, especially for the size of the nest. I thought I was going to have to put a patty on this one or something. I'll go one more frame, and then I'm going to call it. When I put it back together, that frame that was just foundation, I'll actually put that on the outside edge. The queen is on the bottom. The queen is about there. Alrighty. Good looking brood pattern though. Might be a great colony. It came from an area that had some of my favorite bees in it. So I'm excited and hopeful that we'll be able to keep them going. Put that broken frame on the outside. Justify the frames to the middle. Let them keep doing what they're doing. Alrighty, let's see what's going on in this one. This is a double nuke side by side. I have not smoked it. I should do that before I get myself into trouble. The left side doesn't appear near as busy as the right side. So we'll see if there's a reason why. Have a quick peekaroo. Let's start with the side that's not as busy, at least at the front door. And that looks pretty scant. I'm going to go right for this middle frame. See if that gives us anything to work with or gives us any tells. Ew, heavy. Okay, the reason why there's not many bees is the brood nest is still towards the bottom. Again, if you see a semicircular brood like this, that's towards the bottom of the frame, odds are that semicircle is continued in the lower box. Odds are the brood nest in this hive is between boxes right now. Taking a quick peek at the pattern, it looks pretty dang all right, considering the time of year especially. And there's plenty of food in this top box. So it's just a colony that's a little slower to wake up than its neighbors, which is fine. I'm not going to go any deeper on her. Close them up. Oh, smell fresh honey came out of that. All right, here's the busier colony. So let's see what's going on in here. A lot of moosh bees there. That's unpleasant. Let's just pull the middle frame, see if that gives us any direction. Oops. Every now and again, you're going to squish a girl. That's just the nature of this. Try not to do it, but it just kind of happens sometimes. Doo-doo-doo. Doo. Oh, she's heavy. Okay. And this is all food. All food, both sides. So there's this whole top box is still food. I really don't feel the need in a hive that's looking this busy, which suggests to me they're brooding fine. And I see they've got enough food up top side. I don't feel the need to dig around any more than that this time of year. I'm not going to find anything out that's going to change what I do with them or change anything about how I'm going to mess with them from here. So let's just button them up before we can get ourselves into trouble. Thank you for joining me on this trip through the apiary. Good luck and happy beaking. All right.